Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for day 10 of the 12 days of Litness, day 10 already. And today being, of course, my favorite nonfiction writer. And I met my favorite nonfiction writer as a nonfiction speaker. And there are many who would probably claim that he is a better speaker than a writer. And perhaps they're correct, but in fairness, there's nothing in this prompt that says that this should be the most beautiful writer of nonfiction prose that I read. It is simply your favorite nonfiction writer. And I am speaking, of course, of the late, great Christopher Hitchens. And I go to Christopher Hitchens' work for something other than great prose, though I think that he is very capable, more than very capable, of turning a phrase when necessary. I go for the spark of a thought that I had never considered. For example, this is his book, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. And I am not going to make a video bashing God, but what I will do is I will simply read the first few chapter titles, because I think that the chapter titles alone express a great deal of the spark with which Christopher Hitchens was capable of writing. Chapter 1, Putting It Mildly. Chapter 2, Religion Kills. 3, A Short Digression on the Pig, or Why Heaven Hates Ham. 4, A Note on Health, to which religion can be hazardous. 5, The metaphysical claims of religion are false. 6, Arguments from Design. 7, Revelation, the nightmare of the Old Testament. And I'll jump to 10 because I think this is a very good one. 10, The Tawdriness of the Miraculous and the Decline of Hell. 11, The Lowly Stamp of Their Origin, Religion's Corrupt Beginnings. 12, A Coda, How Religion Ends. And so on and so forth. Christopher Hitchens is especially good at delivering a gut blow while you're not looking. He's able to say something that gets you sort of nodding along, and all of a sudden he slides in something very fierce. But also, I love Hitchens because you cannot predict what he is going to say. One of the first points that he makes in his book, Letters to a Young Contrarian, a book that he agreed to write for his, I believe, his editor, is that he is not a contrarian, which is a point when writing a book called Letters to a Young Contrarian that you make in order to A, completely discredit yourself from being listened to for the rest of the book, and B, to gain all of the credit in the world for actually being a contrarian, not simply saying that you are one. But these are reasons why I love Hitchens, not reasons why he is my favorite nonfiction writer. The reason he is my favorite nonfiction writer is very much comparable to the reasons that I stated in day 4 of the 12 Days of Litness, why Fight Club is my favorite novel. Christopher Hitchens is my favorite nonfiction writer because I found Hitchens when I absolutely had to have him. In the latter days of my undergraduate career, I started dating a woman, and though I'm from the Midwest, so religion is something that you can't really escape here. You simply live with it on the boundaries of your life for as long as possible. But I was, in fact, a God-fearing person, and I thought that fearing was what you did with God. Someone who was omnipotent was very much to be feared, and that was how I dealt with religion. But I started dating this woman who began taking me to church, and I realized just how little about the religion that I actually knew. And the more I got into it, the less I sort of saw any type of merit. I started questioning things more and more. But for someone who is God-fearing, not simply God-believing or God-adhering, this idea of questioning God is very scary, right? Because don't question him, you'll go to hell for eternity. Which, hell, I mean, what is that, really? I guess the worst thing you can imagine for all of eternity? That's pretty bad. That's not a good thing. So I started going online to try to find answers, right? Surely if I had had these doubts, there were other people, great thinkers who were religious before me, who had had these same doubts and were able to reconcile those questions and still remain believers. So I tried that. I went online, I went on YouTube, and I searched religious debates. And I kept seeing this guy, Christopher Hitchens. And I would watch, and he'd bring up a lot of the points that I had questioned, that I had wondered about, things that I had doubted. And I would be rooting, of course, for the theologian, for the apologist, as it were. And time again, he'd raise some point, and I'd be like, yeah, get him. Get the guy, right? Strike him down. And the theologian would bring up some half-concocted, half-baked sort of way to get around the question as opposed to way to answer the question. And this happened time and again. And eventually I started agreeing with Hitchens more and more. And more than simply agreeing for him, I started rooting for him. And it was necessary, this was a necessary process for me, I believe, to become an atheist, especially in Kansas City is very quagmired with religion. Religion is, I pass 4 churches, on a 1-mile drive to the place where I work out, to my gym. When I go to my gym, I pass 4 churches along the way. It's a mile stretch of road. Literally 1 mile, I've measured it. So it's a bit ridiculous, I think even someone who is religious would have to admit that. But perhaps Hitchens is not for you. But if you take nothing else from this video, if you take nothing else from this channel, I want to get this quote from Hitchens across to you, because I think that it's something that is definitely worth living by, whether you are religious or not. The offer of certainty, the offer of absolute security, the offer of an impermeable faith that can't give way, is an offer of something not worth having. I want to live my life taking the risk all the time, that I don't know anything like enough yet, that I haven't understood enough, that I can't know enough, that I'm always hungrily operating on the margins of a potentially great harvest of future knowledge and wisdom. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'll skip forward a little bit in this quote, because it just goes into some of the straight religious claims. But this is the part that I think is absolutely worth taking with you. Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. Just that small little snippet, if nothing else. Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. That's all I have for today, day 10 of the 12 days of Litmus. I hope to see you back again tomorrow for day 11, my go-to books when I'm just not feeling it. Where would God be without Christopher Hitchens?